Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Recently, just prior to the launch of Season 3 here in Warzone and Modern Warfare 3, I was privileged enough to be able to sit down in a call with a handful of devs from Modern Warfare 3, Warzone, Warzone Mobile, and learn a bit more about the Season 3 update, which obviously we've now been able to experience the last couple of days, alongside a handful of other insights into various different elements of the game. We were able to ask the devs a handful of questions in regards to some of the content. They previewed some exclusive stuff that without this call, we wouldn't be able to really have any amount of information on to begin with. So first off, big thank you to Activision for allowing me to sit in on this call and bring these details to you guys. Also, secondly, thank you to you guys for continuing to support the channel and put me in positions so ideally I can help make an impact on the game and we as a community can help make an impact on the game in a positive way. But today I wanted to sort of highlight some of the takeaways from the Q&A that was had so we can dive into some of the things that the devs are previewing, some things they're looking into, some good news, some maybe not so good news depending on how you view it. As we do go through everything here today, if you enjoy the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It is always really appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee you are always up to date with all things going on in COD, this is the place to be, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Initially though, here, the devs were asked if there were ever going to be any plans to more reward mastery within the game, specifically players who went through and completed all of the mastery for multiplayer and maybe zombies as well, sort of a grand mastery, if you will. And basically the response that we got there was almost teasing. Some things are in the works is essentially what was said there. They're looking into how they could reward certain things. There's no ETA, there's no timeline here, but it is something the devs would like to actively reward going forward. So some interesting stuff to be on the lookout for there. Another thing that was previewed here, and it might be something you've actually already noticed here throughout Season 3, is the party up bonuses that they're sort of incentivizing this season. The whole quote unquote theme of this season is like playing with your friends or getting the group back together, right? And with that, essentially now throughout the season, as you party up with other friends and dive into multiplayer or zombies or Warzone, you're going to notice various different bonuses applied to your party, whether it be more XP, more battle pass XP, weapon XP, all sorts of things like that. Party up bonuses are going to be a heavy emphasis throughout the season. It's cool. It's nothing too crazy. It's not going to, drastically change how the game plays at any basic level in terms of insane amounts of XP being rewarded to parties. It's going to be slightly better, but definitely a cool sort of incentive there for partying up consistently and dropping in with your friends. They do actually preview a couple of updates and gameplay fixes here across the board. Some things they are actively looking into, a fix is coming. Other things they're more so just monitoring here, but they did actually confirm they do have some fixes planned for loot auto picking up with equipment. This is a thing that's been going on, or a bug that's been going on for some time, where when you run over a pile of loot, if you have a certain equipment, let's say for instance you have smokes and throwing knives on, and you run over a pile of loot and in that loot is smokes and throwing knives, because it's the same equipment you're using, it should auto pick up. It doesn't always do that though. It's really frustrating. You have to stop what you're doing and then try and fumble through the loot to pick up that extra smoke grenade or to pick up the Semtex or the stun or whatever the case may be. So this is something they do have an update coming for. Again, they didn't give a direct ETA here, but definitely some good news there. They also are aware of loot in general being a little bit inconsistent when it comes to interacting with the world, specifically in and around buy station areas, where if you take somebody out close to a buy station, you try and go up to said buy station and open it up to try and quickly buy back a teammate or get a UAV or buy a loadout and accidentally pick up a weapon, or you're picking up ammo or stuff like that where the loot sort of takes priority. They're aware of that. They don't have a guaranteed fix for this yet, but they did say, hey, we know this is frustrating and it's something that we don't like to see when loot is sort of overtaking other elements of gameplay. So it is something that they are going to update eventually. It's just a matter of time, they made it seem like. Now, unfortunately, not every single answer that we get from the devs is great news. Sometimes it is the unfortunate no, we can't do this, no, we aren't looking into that, and it sort of is what it is. For instance, we were told that when it comes to spectating within Warzone, oftentimes if you're trying to spectate a team or flip between different players, it can take a long time for spectating to load. They did confirm there were going to be no changes for faster spectating there, just because from a back-end standpoint, it just doesn't make sense because of the load that spectating has in general on gameplay on the servers. So unfortunately, no real changes to the spectating feature are going to be coming as of now. Also, one that personally I'm a little bit more disappointed in, no specific option or feature for searching for attachments. Obviously right now in game we've got 100 different optics and they're largely useless, but there's a couple of ones that if you don't favorite them are worthwhile, but you got to search through and hope you spot it. You might have missed it. Now you got to scroll back another 30 seconds, right? It'd be much easier if I could just type in, hey, I'm looking for this 2.5 times optic, or hey, I'm looking for this thermal optic, and I can just type that in manually. But unfortunately, that's just not going to be a thing. The favoriting attachments seems like is going to be about as easy as it gets when it comes to finding the exact ones you're looking for. Also, currently, they are well aware that kill streaks within Warzone in specific can be really obnoxious when it comes to calling them in. You might have an airstrike in pocket or a mortar strike in pocket, and you're really trying to send it onto a team to put some pressure on them, and suddenly, hey, you can't call in the streak for 15 seconds. You can't call in the streak for 10 seconds. And you look and you're like, there is an airstrike and it is so far away and it's blocking me from calling mine in. Why is that? Essentially, they don't have a clean solve currently for the kill streak radius blocks. That's how they referred to it as, where there is a general area that they consider streaks being applied. Okay, this is going to block everything in this surrounding area, but in order to change that, to expand at that, there's no clean solve for that at the moment. So that sort of obnoxious situation where you are getting blocked from calling in your streak is going to persist, it seems like, for a long time based on their answer there. So it's just kind of something we've got to live with. Now, within this Q&A, we did also have a couple of answers that applied to Warzone Mobile. It kind of crosses over between general Warzone as well, but some decent news here as well if you are really into Warzone Mobile. So initially, with this, they did clarify that Warzone Mobile stats are supposed to be the exact same as general Warzone stats. So when it comes to weapon damage, attachment updates, ranges, everything like that, it should be a one-to-one crossover from general Warzone to Warzone Mobile. And as we see major balancing updates with the seasonal launches and the mid-season updates, those same updates are applied to Warzone Mobile weapons as well. There are a few one-off instances where things aren't lining up and they're always looking into those, they did say. So in case there was any concern or question there, that does directly answer that. A big question that a lot of people have been asking since Warzone Mobile dropped is, will there be updated controller support for things like tap to interact, adjustments for dead zones, all sorts of stuff like that? They did say yes, a controller settings update is coming for Warzone Mobile. They didn't give an ETA here, but it's good news that is going to be coming. Also, they did say that Warzone Mobile optimization updates are their highest priority at the moment. And really, obviously with Season 3, we saw updates for that, but really weekly updates are their ideal goal there. And they said they've got multiple different weekly updates planned specifically around optimization there, which is great news as well. Now, focusing back more on some broad Warzone questions and answers here, the Rebirth player count was brought up. You know, it's going to be what it is at launch now, similar to what it was back during OG Warzone as well. But they did sort of allude to the fact that they would not be against messing with the player count and increasing the Rebirth player count in the future. It may be something that initially debuts as like an LTM, I would imagine, but they were asked about it and they said, you know, right now we've got our set standard for our player count, but we're always looking into that for the future. So perhaps we could see Rebirth become even more chaotic in the future with a higher player count. Personally, I think it would be very fun. They were also asked about Modern Warfare 2 weapons, because if you are an active viewer here on the channel, you know we're always talking about how the devs previously said they want MW2 weapons to be in line with MW3 weapons. They want the weapons to feel the same across both games, not this big difference in recoil and muzzle flash and sway and this, that, and whatever else. And they did confirm that basically with every major seasonal update, seasonal launch, mid-season update, the stuff like that, they are continuing to work on aim functions in comparison to MW3 guns. Also, also some of the upcoming aftermarket parts for MW2 guns. They really got an emphasis on those. They should be pretty strong, all things considered. So they know that there is a want for more balance between MW2 and MW3, and that's something that we should really see consistently throughout a lot of the major updates going forward. Another concern that was brought up was the lack of support for ground war maps. And honestly, the answer for this makes sense, although it is still a bummer to hear. Essentially, the answer that was given in regards to why we don't see a ton of new updates for ground war or for other modes in specific within multiplayer is that they want to provide the best experience for the vast majority of players in 6v6. They're kind of all in on the 6v6 content. Obviously, we're seeing a ton of new maps debut with every seasonal update. We see a lot of new modes updated for that, and they just said with the balance there, if they were to go ahead and look at other things like designing new ground war maps and doing all of that, ultimately it would mean there'd be a lot less for 6v6 in some of the standard modes. So those not being the main priority there is basically the reason why we haven't seen as much support for that stuff post-launch. Again, it makes sense, especially, you know, given all the development time or lack thereof that MW3 had. It's just a bummer to hear it because personally, I love ground war. It's probably my favorite mode within multiplayer across the board just to generally play, and no new ground war maps throughout the year is definitely a disappointment for sure. And then lastly, they did talk a little bit more about Battle Royale Ranked, although they were very ambiguous with it. They just said more information is coming in the future. So we have that to look forward to sometime down the road. Across the board, though, it's nice to have this level of transparency, and I'm glad I can actually present this to you guys in a very transparent way. These calls are always super productive for getting feedback across, but also getting answers to things that we might not otherwise get if it weren't for them existing in the first place. So again, very, very grateful to be included in these calls, and also very grateful to you guys for putting me in the position to be recognized to be included in the calls as well. That said, that's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, you want to guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.